What's something that annoys you but makes you look like an asshole if you complain? People who stand way too close to you in lines at the store. I was standing in line at the bank and every time the line moved, the guy behind me would inch closer and closer to me, to the point that I could feel his breath on the back of my neck. I was getting really creeped out, so the next time the line moved, I moved forward but put my hand on my hip and slightly rocked back on my heels, effectively elbowing him in the stomach hard. He moved back after that. When someone responds to your email, but doesn't answer any of the questions you asked. How about when someone replies to your message but seems to only reply to the most irrelevant sentence in the whole paragraph? Drives me nuts. When there are open seats in the rear of the bus but some folks insist on standing right in the aisle and not moving aside, which blocks newer passengers from accessing the seats they may want to sit in. I may choose to stand next to my seated family/friends instead of the lonely island or crazy Craig in the back. Moving out of the way for others is obviously the polite thing to do. Minor thing wrong with food delivery, like sauce you asked for is missing, so now you can't dip your wings in anything, and even though you paid like 50 cents for it, if you ask them to re-deliver it, you know they're going to hate you. Yeah, it sucks, 'cause it's not worth your time to complain. Your meal has already been marginalized. Sometimes I like to call just to let them know they fucked up but don't want them to compensate me in any way. Friends. Guests coming over to visit when I've got shit to do. Coming over without asking first is just rude. People looking, staring at me while I eat. People looking or staring at me, in general. People walking so slowly, or people who let their dogs walk on the other side of the footpath to them so that the lead stretches all the way across the path and makes it hard for anyone to walk around them. This, that, and slow walkers are always the type to veer awkwardly from side to side, so that it is impossible to walk past them. When I am in no hurry and someone holds the door, while I am still quite far away, I get anxious, then I have to run. Sometimes I feel like running away from the door. Edit, what if I run in the opposite direction away from the door, while they are still holding it? Fuck those 10 stairs. Nah, just pull the power move and walk the same pace. Trust me when I say life is much more fun when you don't think about embarrassment. When people tell the same sad, personal backstory to everyone they meet, I suspect for sympathy. I want to tell people to stop trying to get sob story points, but then I'm the asshole. Every time I have a get-together at my house, if there are new people she doesn't know, my Mill will hijack the conversation and get everyone's attention to tell the story of how her dad died when she was a child. Then she'll tell the story of how her first husband was murdered in a drunk fight. After everyone dries their tears and tells her what a strong person she is, my Phil will then start on the same speech about how he is a self-made man who taught himself how to be a musician, electrician and restaurateur. Blah blah blah. All the while I'm just waiting for this rehearsed play to end so everyone can go back to their appetizers. Babies, kids crying, I can't possibly go and say shut the fuck up, even though I really want to say it. Damned right. If someone has a non-violent solution for this, I'd love to hear it. When people are like, there are people who live in poverty, so it means you aren't allowed to have feelings. Edit, why is this getting so many comments? As the great Doug Stanhope once said, how does their suck make my suck any less? People who don't read their work emails fully and having to diplomatically phrase read the fucking email over and over again. Per my last email. Having a conversation with someone and when it's my turn to speak they use it as an opportunity to check their phone and messages. And once it's their turn to talk I'm expected to give them my full attention. I purposefully stop talking at all at that point and wait for them to get off the phone before speaking. I stare at them to make them really uncomfortable and ask them, are you done? I feel kinda like an ass, but if you're going to be part of this conversation, pay attention. I'm not going to waste my breath on someone who isn't even attempting to give a shit. When someone is playing music that's completely off for the situation. I met my husband in college. He would go to typical college parties and replace whatever popular shitty dance music was playing with his favorite progressive metal and then get offended when everyone shoot up because they can't hear, and stopped dancing, because how? He isn't autistic as far as I can tell, but I had to wonder back then. People who chew with their mouths open. Close your gap. I don't need to hear or to see what you make of it. That's intolerable. When people say God bless you after every single sneeze. I can knock off 4 or 5 sneezes before I'm done. You can decline the blessings. Those trips people take to third world countries to build homes and schools and wells etc. and then post it on social media smiling with a bunch of kids. I can't put my finger on it, but it peeves me to no end. They're usually doing good things for people. I just hate it. Is it possible that somewhere, in the back of your head, there may be a lurking suspicion that they are only doing it to make themselves look good? The fucking nickname I have at work, and especially when that piece of shit Dennis uses IST. Start calling him Denise. I hate repeating myself. At least, when I'm actually speaking. Typing is low effort so I don't mind. But when I'm asked to repeat myself enough times, I just get irritated but say nothing. Never mind. To avoid looking like an asshole. As someone with bad ears, this makes me uncomfortable to find out. About every 10 sentences I hear, I have to ask, what did you say? When I'm walking behind someone in a large crowd and they stop suddenly or turn around. Especially at the airport or somewhere like that, where you're really only supposed to be going from point A to point B. The crowd was flowing smoothly, but now I have to maneuver around you to get where I need to go. If you keep your center of gravity shifted slightly forward, there's no need to maneuver around anyone. YouTube ads. I know there are a lot of people whose entire incomes come from those ads, but they're still intrusive and commonly show up at inconvenient points in videos. The worst invention of all times must be the ad 1 of 2 like bitch. Why 2 ads in a row? Parents saying you won't understand X until you have a child when X has nothing to do with childcare. Have a long work day? Try that and having a kid. Need a mental health break. Having a kid is a full-time job. Don't get me wrong, I like kids and I see it's a really tough job, but sometimes it just seems like they're using it as a reason for why their chosen suffering is worse than yours. It reminds me of a scene in Frasier where Frasier is complaining about having a cricket in the house and his friend Ross says, "Oh yeah? Did the cricket crawl into bed with you? Did the cricket open your eyelids with its little fingers at 3 in the morning?" And Frasier says, "I wish I had a 3-year-old so I could win every argument." When people have to put other people near me. For example, if I park in an empty parking lot, by the time I come out someone has parked right next to my car even though the whole parking lot is empty. Or when I'm eating in an empty restaurant and the staff put the next customers in the booth directly behind mine. Why? You have the whole restaurant? Why do I have to listen to people's phones and loud children when you could have put them anywhere else? The restaurant probably only has one section open if it's a slow time, so they put everyone in that section. People genuinely crying, expressing real sorrow. I was punished every time I cried as a kid and it resulted in some weird psychological phenomena. I didn't learn to comfort people until I was like 23 and I'm still not great at it. Intellectually I know what I should do. Emotionally I'm incredibly agitated. I get so uncomfortable when people cry in public or at work and expect one of us to hug them or something. I've cried in public many times. I'd rather just be ignored and not touched. Any kind of team building at work. Same with site meetings. I have no interest in building relationships with my co-workers. I have no interest in how my company is doing financially and what the company's goals are for the next year. Just send a GD email about that crap. I just want to do my job and go home. I have no interest in how my company is doing financially. Ugh. This is the absolute worst. Yeah, tell the employees all about how the company is pulling in record profits. Enough that they could double every single employee's salary and it'd decrease their profitability by less than 25%. That's real great for morale, especially when we're constantly being told to tighten our belts. Tell us that a multi-billion-dollar international corporation can't afford to hire a couple more employees to handle the ever-increasing workload, stop paying for an annual Christmas party, push back the retirement age, fight tooth and nail with the union to avoid giving a wage increase keeping pace with inflation, make us keep driving 25-plus-year-old work trucks that are falling apart and burning a quart of oil a day. Fucking fantastic. Forcing someone to drink with you. Not taking no for an answer. Come on, just one. As a frequent drinker, I won't do that to someone. In fact, I have talked a sober friend into not getting a drink, while being drunk myself, because they were doing so well and I didn't want them to fuck it up. People reading out loud or singing something when I'm thinking or doing something else. It is a big deal. At first I thought you meant quietly reading to themselves and was very confused. When the illiterate kid would volunteer to read aloud. As a person who is a very skilled reader, I know it's an asshole thing to say, but listening to those people makes me wanna use my cat as toilet paper. Poor grandma. If you tell someone they're using a word incorrectly, you look like an asshole. I correct my boyfriend when he uses incorrect grammar or a word that doesn't mean the right thing, but never in front of other people. He doesn't mind. He's thanked me before and told me he's impressed with how smart I am. In his turn, he explains computers and car care and other things I don't understand. I'm impressed with him, thank him, and come to him with problems to solve. It's a great trade for both of us to show off, help each other, and feel like we know what we're doing.